The driveway was alive. Okay, not really, but it sure felt that way to Mrs. Anderson. Every crack seemed to leer at her. Each pothole was like a gaping mouth. It hadn't always been this way. It used to be a normal driveway, smooth and grey. Now, it was a minefield of creepy crevices and shadowy spots. Mrs. Anderson avoided it as much as she could. She parked on the street, even in the rain, anything to avoid the driveway's creepy gaze. One afternoon, Mrs. Anderson saw it. A face in the asphalt. It appeared for just a second, then vanished. She told her husband, but he laughed. "It's just an old driveway, honey," he said. But Mrs. Anderson knew better. She felt a cold shiver every time she passed the driveway. The shadows seemed to twist and turn, whispering her name. At night it was even worse. The streetlights cast long, eerie shadows across the driveway. Mrs. Anderson was sure she saw things moving in the darkness. Then came the storm. Rain lashed against the windows. Wind howled like a hungry wolf. Mrs. Anderson lay in bed, unable to sleep. A loud crack echoed from outside. She sat up, her heart pounding. Another crack, louder this time. Something was happening in the driveway. Curiosity, or maybe it was fear, overcame her. Mrs. Anderson grabbed a flashlight and crept downstairs. As she peered out the window, a bolt of lightning illuminated the driveway. The cracks seemed to writhe and pulse. The face was back, clearer than ever, and it was screaming. Mrs. Anderson had had enough. This was too much for anyone to handle. She remembered seeing a commercial on TV, a group of strong, friendly-looking men who promised to fix any driveway, no matter how bad. Maisano Brothers, Inc., the commercial called them. "We'll handle it," their slogan said. And Mrs. Anderson desperately needed someone to handle this driveway. The next morning, the storm was gone. Mrs. Anderson called Maisano Brothers. A team arrived within the hour, their truck a beacon of hope. The Maisano Brothers were just like in the commercial, strong and reassuring. They inspected the driveway, their faces serious but kind. "Don't worry, Mom," said one of the brothers. "We've seen worse. We'll make this driveway look brand new." For days, the Maisano brothers worked their magic. They poured new concrete, smoothed out the cracks, and banished the shadows. Finally, the day arrived. The driveway was finished. It was smooth and grey, just like new. No more faces, no more whispers, no more fear. Mrs. Anderson took a deep breath, the fear finally gone. The driveway was just a driveway again, and Mrs. Anderson felt safe in her home once more.